My name is TotalBiscuit, and I suck at Starcraft 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am TotalBiscuit, and I still suck at Starcraft 2. Welcome to another episode. This was one of these games where I felt so good after it that I felt like I had to go and watch the replay immediately. Because I have the feeling that even though I felt like I played amazingly, I probably played really bad, and the guy on the other end played even worse. I've got to determine it, so you're going to find out with me whether or not that was the case. So I'll play against a Zerg player. He is Barcode, as you can see here, in the blue trunks to the northeast of Clontus Maya. This is an interesting one. This is a new map with the ladder. It's a two-player map. You start, like, either side. There's this weird little bridge here. And if you don't take the bridge, then you got to go all the way around. Bit of a nightmare. There's also rocks, I think, around here. So there's an expansion here you can take, but there's rocks as well, so always something to consider. Now, it is a symmetrical map, so there's the same situation there as well. So I've been working on a number of different fundamentals. As you know, I'm in Platinum League now, which is just a little bit up from where I was in Gold. And I'm still really bad at the game, so I think the difference between, like, being Gold and Platinum is I'm starting to know why I'm bad, and I'm trying to do what I can to address it. So, first things first, I'm going to go for a gasless expand. Lately, against pretty much every race other than Terran, I've been going gasless expand. With Terran, I've often had to take a gas because of the Reaper situation. A lot of Reapers come out. And as a result, I need to either build a Reaper of my own or build some kind of defense, get out maybe a bit of earlier tech. This was dumb. It's like, hey, I'm going to wall off. What I should have done here was wall and then just stop building. Then that would have prevented the drone from doing it. The annoying thing about the worker AI is that it can flip on different sides of the building and make your worker vulnerable. I hate that. I guess there's probably a legitimate reason for it, but I'll be damned if I know what. Thankfully, I was quick enough to get inside and bring the depot up and then repair from there and then just get the Marine out, so no real big deal here. Now, he went for hatchery first and then took a pool on 15, which is really super standard Zerg play here. He also takes a gas, which is pretty interesting. Now, gas at this stage can mean a number of things. You might want to rush up to lair. You might want to do some kind of early attack with banelings or roaches, for instance, and you'd need the gas for that. But a lot of Zerg just don't, right? They just won't take a gas, and they'll build a bunch of queens instead, and they'll start spreading the creep. But I got a scout here, taking over the narrow little murder bridge. This will come into effect later. Aside from that, everything's going fine, aside from losing that SCV at the start there, which was very, very dumb. And I feel that I'm probably safe enough to build on the low ground. This saves a little bit of time. It means you can get mining quicker. So this is an economically sound thing to do, but it can be risky. If your opponent's going like 10 pull or something, they can punish you. But since I confirmed that his pull was on the normal timing, but I did see a gas, I thought, okay, right. I see what's going on here. I'm not feeling under any pressure. Like, he can't really come and kill me right now. By the time he gets Lings out, by the time he tries to attack me, I'll have enough Marines for that not to be a factor. I'm gonna have my 4th Marine there, so any number of Lings he can build right now won't make a difference. He won't have enough lava, he has no queens, so he can build a maximum of 6, so it won't be a problem. And I'm building this bunker down here. I'm building it in this position, so that it's a bit more difficult to surround with Zerglings. This is like a kind of old school way of playing. A lot of Terran have actually started to push their bunker out a little bit more now because they don't fear Zerglings as much thanks to Widow Mines and things like that. And I don't feel I'm good enough to really hold that kind of defense. Now, what's interesting here from my opponent is he goes Baneling Nest right after that. So my suspicion that there would be an attack was pretty much confirmed there. I didn't know about that, but I made that assumption, and I was right. Now, supply block-wise, for once, I actually did it right. Not only was I building a backup supply depot there, this is about to complete. So my timing here, for once, is like, this is probably the first time in about 3 months that I've got an opening correct, yeah? Because I've been doing this build over and over again, I now do it properly. So instead of messing around with different builds, I open up this one way every time, and then I go into whatever I feel is best. So in this case, I've got 3 Marines, 4 Marines in there, and now 6, and now I've got him behind there. So it's a nice little position. And I get the factory down earlier. What I've been finding is that I'm building the factory too late. Because I see a bunch of minerals, what I decide to do is, like, build a bunch of barracks, and then it's like, here, have some reactors and some tech labs, let's build an engineering bay, and then I realize, oh yeah, like 8 minutes in the game and I have a factory, which means that I'm not going to have medevacs out. I end up dying to Zerg that way, because I can't harass the Zerg. So the Zerg ends up getting much, much bigger than I am, much scarier than I am. Ends up getting like Ultralisk tech, which is the bane of my goddamn existence right now is Ultras. So what I need is that earlier factory. Now, in the meantime, he's able to drone up behind this. He's building 4 queens, which is really standard. And unfortunately, I don't get to block that. It would have been really nice if I'd actually had him on hold position just to block that off for a little bit. But I know he takes his 3rd hatchery, so that's an interesting piece of information for me. So I then go and scout again, and I don't really see anything. If I'd gone straight in, I would have seen the baneling nest. But, yeah, that's the way of it. So I know he's taking that hatchery. Let's get that one right for once, shall we? Got a couple of barracks down, probably not as many as I could. I'm actually floating a lot of money here, which is really bad, and I should throw down a couple more barracks pretty much immediately after this. But he's getting aggressive. Builds 8 banelings right now. So he is going to go for me. You think it's going to work? Probably not. Probably not. He's going to have to wait for at least some more units. Going in 8 banelings is just suicidal. Funny thing is about this, he builds 8 banes and then builds a round of drones. I'm like, what? Why? And he doesn't get any real scouting information that would indicate that that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, but he does it anyway, which is really odd. So, strange decision. Thankfully, because he built that round of drones, that means his attack comes later, right? So he's getting his upgrade, so he's going 1-1, he's going for the Ultralisk style here, that's blatantly obvious. And then he builds a bunch of lings, and that's his attack force. But in the meantime, I'm able to get out a couple of Widow Mines. I throw down a couple more barracks behind it. A bit late. Again, I could have thrown them down a lot earlier than that, which means that I would have had a larger army. Right now, I'm in a decent position, though. I'm actually slightly ahead economically until that 3rd hatchery of his is fully operational, until it's getting a bunch of drones. But I actually push forward here with 2 Widow Mines. And the funny thing about this is it actually gives me information. I actually see the attack coming in. I'm able to burrow before that, and I want you to watch something for a second. Why are these Widow Mines not detonating? They're not exploding. Why is that? Why are they not detonating? Bang. So, let me show you what I did there. This is something that I knew that this existed, but it's become a thing over the last couple of days. It's been posted a lot on Reddit. So let's look from my perspective here. I'm going to lock the camera to me. On normal. So, there we go. Widow Mines move forward. This is what I see. So, I borrow them immediately on the little bridge. And what would happen usually here is that they just detonate. But what I did was, you can see those little clicks that are happening there? I'm constantly clicking to change the target. And then I fire them off when I think it's most effective. And I kill about 6 banelings with it. I actually blew my mines up, I think, in the process. But the baneling detonations would have killed them anyway. So instead of having like 12 banelings, he's got more like 4. Which is much, much more easy to manage. And then, as you can see, that attack goes through. I actually do leak here because this wall-off wasn't complete. But I target the banelings, I bring them down, taking no damage whatsoever. And this attack has completely failed. He gets a couple of lings into my mineral line, kills an SCV or 2, but I then get a surround and just kill him. And that, his attack has failed, and I am now ahead economically. He's only on 39 drones, I'm on 45 SCVs and 2 mules. So the technique is fairly simple to learn. It's something you should try as a Terran, assuming that you're in a situation where you can do it where you're not sacrificing anything else. The problem is it's a micro-intensive thing, so you can end up being in a situation where you waste a lot of APM, and it would have been better, instead of your fancy little mine trick, if you just built more units, yeah? So in this case, what you do is mines take 1.5 seconds to detonate. So if you keep retargeting them, they won't fire until you stop targeting for 1.5 seconds, and then they will fire on the selected target. So that means that in this situation, I was able to hold them, because he knew the mines were there. He saw them burrow, so it was like, oh, right, okay, I'm going to split off a bunch of lings, I'm going to take damage on the lings, keep the banelings safe. I stopped him from doing that, and then targeted the banelings and hit the banelings with the mines. Now, if he got those 10 banelings to my wall, that would have been way more damaging. But because he didn't, that saved my ass. So those Widow Mines are bros right now. Okay, so in the meantime, what am I doing? Well, this is pretty lousy from me. I'm floating a huge amount of money. Like, what I could have here is a lot more barracks. I'm still working on this. I still feel that this macro problem is the worst thing that I currently do. Right now, I'm trying to tech up, but think about it for a second. And I'm also trying to take a 3rd, yeah? And I cancelled that so I get a planetary there. I never take a 3rd orbital because I'm not good enough to defend those bases, so I take this as a planetary instead. Plus, what's the point in having a 3rd orbital if I can't spend all this money? Eventually, I realized, and I thrown out 4 more barracks. I could have done that maybe 30 seconds earlier. I could have thrown down extra barracks, and that means that my production would have been better. I would have had more stuff. So I go up to, what, 8 barracks, 9 barracks? Yeah, 8 barracks. And also the factory, which is currently producing widow mines, which I'm using in defense. Really like these. The cool thing about widow mines is that they're one of those units that reward defensive play, and if you're a bad player, it's always better for you to be the defender, because it takes less control. Yeah, you're in a better position, you can bring reinforcements in, whereas it's difficult for the opponent to do that. So it's much, much better to be the defender. Widow mines help you be that defender. They're also useful for harassment and things like that. Now, some weird funky stuff going on here. I think it's because he dedicated so much to this early attack. His flyer attack and his mutalisks are way late. Yeah, so my marine count is getting to the point where it's just ridiculous. He's also supply blocked here, which is really, really bad. And as you've seen, even with my bad macro, I'm still like 40 supply ahead of this guy. What would have happened if I'd got these barracks up earlier? I could have been 50, 60 supply ahead. I had the money. I still have the money. I'm still floating it right now. I can't spend it quickly enough. The cool thing that I'm not doing as much of that I used to is have a lot of idle money. I still have a little bit, but not by much. I'm not queuing up like 10 Marines, because as people have said before, and maybe some people that don't really play StarCraft that much don't understand this, but idle money is bad because you're better off building more production facilities instead of queuing up stuff that's not building. Yeah, because you pay for everything right then and there. So that's really, really bad. Now, here's something that I decided to do. I thought, this bridge has some interesting possibilities. Now, I know he's on Baneling tech, and I haven't seen anything else. I've seen no sign that he's going roaches. I know that he had 1-1 upgrades. So, can I use the bridge to my advantage? Now, what I did here, as you can see, is I selected all of my marauders, and I sent my marauders to the front. These guys are the sponge. And these guys are going to sit here and eat the Baneling hits, and then everyone else is going to be behind them. And then this is going to absolutely suck for the Zerg player. So I've moved out with a supply advantage. My marauders are at the front. He knows I'm here. Push the marauders through a little bit. I push one marauder forward here to make sure that I try and get a Baneling connection. As you can see, there's a big wall of maraudery death. And what happens to the Banelings? Very, very little indeed. One last one connects, which I could have microed out of the way of, but that was way less damaging than it should have been. And then he crashes in and kills like half my army. I managed to split, but not quickly enough. I'm able to push in here and do some damage. I kill a Mutalisk. He brings in a few more. I try to bring down some Overlords and Overseers, get another supply block in him. And I'm killing a bunch of more Mutalisks here as well. I don't have any medevac support, though, so should I have even pushed out there? Because I lost a lot of army there, and did I really gain anything? Not really. That wasn't that great. I killed a few Mutalisks, but no, I invested in there. I pushed out before medevacs, and it's really because my medevacs were too late. This is something I've got to refine in my build. I must get medevacs earlier than I do. Currently, I run into problems where I just don't have enough gas, or I spend gas on something dumb. Like, I'll maybe get +1 infantry upgrade instead of building that starport. And I think that the starport's a better idea. I had this idea in my head that, hey, it's really, really cool to have lots of upgrades. That's true, it is. But honestly, what can you do with that? Not a lot. Now, I'm building 13 Marines at a time here, which is pretty good. I'm actually more on top of my macro now than I was earlier, and this allows me to get way, way quicker up than he does. Like, he's pretty late on his inject there. He gets all of his stuff here, so that's good. But he's now going to Hive, which is kind of a weird choice. He's going to Hive. I mean, he's got 2-2, so I guess it's not that weird. But he's on 3 bases. His economy isn't that great. He does a lot of damage to me here, so I try and get out of the way, and I try to kite as best I can, but I get obliterated there. Yeah, I kite myself into a corner, which is really, really bad. But he lost a lot of his army there. Like, he killed Marines, but he didn't kill my economy. And he wanted to kill my economy. He so desperately wanted to do that. I'm building a few more SCVs here. It's not too good. These guys are just going to roll in. They're going to maybe take out a bunker, but nothing to worry about here. So that's all cool. I've finally got medevacs out, so now I can finally harass. And that's the biggest thing. Like, the inability to do that. Because his Mutalisks were so late, I could have harassed at maybe the 9-10 minute mark, and I could have done so much. Like, I know these spine crawlers are a bit of a pain, and this spore crawler's in a good position as well, but there's still harassment potential here. I like the fact that he's building static defense. I think if you're a lower level Zerg player right now, drops are a problem for you. For God's sake, build static defense. Again, it doesn't take any APM to defend with static. That's the cool thing about it. That's why Widow Mines are awesome. Yeah? But that's the current situation. Now I'm going in for the drop. I go in for the Hellbat drop here. Let's see how many workers I kill. Probably not a lot. Because I don't control this, it actually runs right at the spine crawler, so I lose it really quickly. I lose my medevac. I kill maybe 3 or 4 drones. Not a big deal. Not a good drop, honestly. I invested a reasonable amount of gas into that, and a medevac that could have been with my army. Now he's going Ultralisk tech, but he's also building 13 swarm hosts. This is just weird. Like, why would you go Ultra Tech, but then invest in 13 swarm hosts? Because, think of how many Ultralisks he could have had here. Like, if he just saved this, I was moving out to attack, yeah, so maybe this is just in response to that, but he doesn't know. I mean, he didn't see that. So he's just building 13 swarm hosts for no apparent reason at all. These are gas-heavy units. These are expensive. So he's thrown a lot of gas at this, and he could have built, and a lot of minerals as well. He could have saved up and built a massive chunk of Ultralisks. And I don't think I would have held, actually. I don't know, maybe I would have, maybe I wouldn't. But now it's this weird position where there's swarm hosts moving towards my 3rd base. I'm flanking around the side with no medevacs for no apparent reason here. I don't know. The more I watch this game, the more it's obvious that I'm still so terrible, but funnily enough, in my head, I'm doing better. I'm actually going to end up supply block to 185. I didn't build the last 2 supply dealers. And now he's pressuring my planetary. I see it coming. So my planetary starts to blow these locusts away in a very pleasing manner to the eye. I repair here, and I get it back up, and the locusts melt away. But I know he has swarm hosts. So what I do is I pick up 3 squadrons of my units. I'm still moving out here, but I'm focused on this micro. So I drop directly on top of his swarm hosts, and I try to get there before it spawns more locusts. And he's actually forced to uproot. And that's huge, because I kill like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 swarm hosts. That's awesome. And then I see an Ultralisk. I'm like, oh god. But in the meantime, like, oh yeah, I have this. I can send this in and kill this base while I'm defending here. And I could build more units, and he's way behind in supply. And he builds more swarm hosts. Like, what? It doesn't make any sense. Like, he's about to have 3-3 and he builds swarm hosts instead of Ultralisks. I don't know. Yeah, it's a really weird mixed style. Like, Swarm Host Ultralisk is not something that I've really seen all that much. It doesn't seem like it would synergize very well. You get the +2 carapace, but you don't get the range upgrade. So, it makes more sense to build Ultra Ling. You build Ling, Baneling, Ultralisk. Maybe you throw some Infestors in there, which he's doing. And he's still building Lings and Banelings, but he has a much smaller and weirder army that doesn't really work all that well. All it's successfully doing is pushing in this direction. Now, I don't want to directly engage if I can. I actually bust down this, and I'm going to try and move in this direction here. He's moving defense in. I actually catch a couple of free swarm hosts there, which is great. I get another scan here, pick up some more swarm hosts, and I'm still building units behind this. Not as many as I could, but I am building units behind it. I'm floating a ton of gas, but not as many minerals as I usually do, even though it's really, really bad. Like, here I need to, like, build a round of... There you go. Build a round of Marines. Excellent. I'm microing here as much as I can. My force gets cleaned up because Infestors and Banelings hit me pretty hard. He doesn't actually build the Chitinous plating upgrade, which is not good at all. But I took a lot of big hits here, and I pushed forward as well. I actually missed a battle there, so let's go back and show you exactly what happened. Because I was engaging on 2 fronts there, which was pretty ugly, as you might imagine. So this push is kind of just farting around over there. I defend against this fairly well. So I've got this big army, and then I engage the Banelings at exactly the wrong time. He actually runs away, and then this nasty little Baneling mine hits me. Takes a lot of my army down. I then engage here as well against Ultras. I do have a Hellbat at the front, but my Marauders are at the back, so that's not so good. I lose a lot there, but I continue to push forward on both fronts. Do I do much? Not really. I split against the Banelings as best I can, but not that well. I try to take the Ultras down, but I don't have the army for it. Because they have no medevac support, they don't have any durability. So I'm spending a huge amount of resources here, but the cool thing is I am actually spending those resources. So even if I lose my army here, I still have a bit of an army here to push forward and try and supply block him, which I think I managed to do. I focus on the Queen, down goes the Queen, Hellbat's going forward to tank here, down goes the static defense, kill a few of those Overlords, he gets supply blocked, and he eventually fungals me, but I kill a bunch of Infestors because he mismicros them into my army. So, I'm actually in a good spot here for the most part. But I'm seeing those Swarm Hosts and I'm seeing those Ultras. I try and drop on top of the Swarm Hosts, but I get my timing completely wrong. So, I fake like I'm going to go into his base and then I turn around and scan and try and take the Swarm Hosts out, but he actually kept his locusts there because he's not an idiot, so that didn't actually work at all, and my guys died instantly. Shame. If he'd actually moved these locusts out across the bridge, I could have killed those swarm hosts. So I guess it was a nice trick, but never mind. Now, I'm actually economically stunted here because I'm not mining from this base. This base is almost mined out, so my income's not that great. I need to move out, and I actually am going to take this over to the 4th base location, and he's going to march out here, but because of all of the mistakes that he's made, and it's not actually due to me doing well here, I think I'm out macroing him, don't get me wrong, and taking this 4th base out was cool because he never retook it. But I think the most of the mistakes were actually on his end, which actually makes me feel worse, because I was like, oh, I'm doing so well, but in reality, he went for this weird composition, and he missed out on a bunch of opportunities that didn't really work out well. I mean, you generally go Ling, Baneling, Ultralisk, you don't go Swarm Host here, because again, the synergy just isn't there. It doesn't make any sense. And now I've got a big army, and I'm building 12 Marines at a time. I still think, you know, my macro, I think, is a lot better than usual. I'm not queuing up that many units here. I'm just building as I can, and as a result, I'm seeing this vast increase in the number of units I can get out in any given time. And it's a basic fundamental skill, but it's so important to actually winning. And now I've got this big scary army, and I've got medevacs out as well, and I'm on 2-2. I actually never started my 3-3, which puts me at something of a disadvantage here against the Ultras. I evacuate out here. And then I engage again against the Locusts. I don't want to engage the Locusts, but I kind of have to here. And now, this is his army. This is what he's got. He's got a couple of Corruptors in the mix. I like the decision to get a couple of Corruptors. They're really nice for forcing the medevacs back and doing some damage. But now I'm going to engage him here in a choke. I get this great concave. Down goes his Ultralisks. A couple of Banelings come in, and they don't really connect on anything worthwhile. That's my split. That's my concave. And the Ultras are not going to make their way through here. So that's all dead. Alright, and his army just gets battered. Another scan comes in here to find the swarm host. Infestor comes in as well. I push forward to try and get it, but he gets a good fungal. He doesn't kill that many units with it, though, thankfully. I've got enough medevacs. There's the cleanup. And I'm in a great spot now. He engages once again before his chitinous plating upgrade is done. He built 7 infestors, but, like, I'm pretty much going to win at this point. But there's so much room for improvement. The thing is that that's actually a really cool thing to see, because when I see something I think I've played really, really well, and then I see a bunch of stuff I can improve, if I can remember to improve that next game, I'm going to be even better. What a great positive attitude to have. There's still a bunch of stuff that I suck at, but now I can march towards this base here, and he's going to try and bring out units. This is not going to work. I have way too large an army for this to work for him. His infestors are going to pop out. I'm going to take the banelings out. I take a bunch of damage there that I shouldn't. But again, I can replace it. No big deal. GG. Down goes his base, and that's it. So yeah, I mean, he made a bunch of mistakes, I guess. He made more mistakes than I actually thought. That composition of his was really weird. The amount of units, the amount of money that he spent on Swarm Host, where he could have just built a ton of Ultras and run over me, I think I got pretty lucky there, in reality. But if I'd macroed better, then even if he'd had that, I could have had my 3-3 up. I mean, I had so much gas. There was no excuse for me not to have it. I floated a bunch of money to the end. I could have had more racks than I had there. I was building off 8 barracks, which is okay, but I could have had 12. I really could have, and it could have been pumping out Marines. Should have had more Marauders in the composition as well. I think I actually ended up with 20 by the end of it. That's pretty good. I don't actually have that many barracks with tech labs on. I think it was just 2. But my Marauders, for the most part, survived, whereas my Marines didn't. So I guess the Marauders ended up just getting... I mean, this guy's he's a corporal. He's got 5 kills. Look at that guy. What a beast. What a beast. He's a corporal, too. See, these are the veterans. These are the veterans. This Marine got 6 kills, though. I'm impressed by him. Anyway, yeah, there's so much more that I could do here. I think I got the opening right for once. I think I engaged well. I made some good decisions, but this start button needs to be out earlier. I need to get my medevacs out earlier. I need to be doing some drop harass. I did 1 drop harass, but by the time that happened, like, he had defenses and it was pointless. I also mismicroed it. A couple of Widow Mines that I sent across the map just ended up getting picked off, although the Widow Mines that I sent across the murder bridge here, well, they proved to be invaluable, and that little piece of mine micro is something I'm going to try to do a little bit more in the future. Makes it a lot more difficult for Zerg to send a couple of links forward. The funny thing is, I had like 6 Marines and a Hellbat stuck in the middle of this the entire time. They're going to stand guard, the eternal sentries of justice right there in the center of the barracks complex, but I hope I can get better from here. I'm feeling pretty good about my Zerg versus Terran versus Zerg right now. My Zerg versus Terran's pretty bad, but hey, there you go. My name's been TotalBiscuit, and I do still suck at Starcraft 2. I'll see you next time.